Well, welcome to the group one more time. And I hope you're enjoying our journey through the history of the church and the book of Acts. And you might recall when we originally began, we were going to spend 10 weeks here. But because of some scheduling things, we're actually going to extend the series a few more weeks, which is going to take us up to just before Thanksgiving. And I think it's actually going to allow us to cover some things that maybe we hadn't originally actually planned on. So I'm looking forward to the extra few weeks that we have, which includes this week as we're turning our attention to Acts chapter 10 and a complete culture shift that takes place in the life of the church. Now, you all are going to read this together, so I'm not going to go back and rehash the entire story. I think maybe the most important thing is for you to understand and to really try to grasp as much as we can the cultural context and what is happening in the world at the time. Now, this moment that we're going to read about takes place roughly 10 years after the resurrection of Jesus. So that's 10 years after Jesus gave that original mission to his followers back in chapter 1 to be witnesses, or to just simply talk about what you have seen and heard and experienced with Jesus, and to be those witnesses in this ever-expanding area and region and people groups. So the message, right, the church was spreading from Jerusalem and then Judea and Samaria. And if you remember back to chapter 8, we talked about a guy named Philip. He took the message of Jesus to that region. And then Jesus said that the church is going to go to the ends of the earth. And it's just going to keep spreading and reach new places. But with that also means that the gospel message is going to reach new people. And I'm not sure the original followers could really grasp that at the time and what it was going to mean. Now, because all of this is happening in a culture, okay, that you have to understand, where children were not valued, women were not considered to be important, the poor were uncared for, and, this is critical, racism was not just accepted, it was at times encouraged. And into that particular culture and time, the message and the church are going to cross over all kinds of lines and break down all kinds of walls and barriers. So you also have to keep in mind Jesus was a Jew. The church to this point consists of Jews. And Peter, one of the original 12 disciples, right, the man who stands up and preaches the very first sermon when the church began, one of the key leaders in the church, is going to be confronted with a life-changing message in the form of a man named Cornelius, who is not a Jew, but a Gentile. And it would be difficult to overstate the hatred that exists between these people. And again, you can read the story for yourself. It's a story of how God speaks to both of them individually and brings them together. You can read how Peter opposes and even resists the idea that the gospel is inclusive of all people. And you can read about their conversation and how Peter slowly adjusts his thinking in a revolutionary way. And it all culminates in Acts chapter 10, verse 34, when Peter discovers it and says it this way. He says, "Now I truly understand that God doesn't show favoritism, but in every nation, the person who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him." Now, I'm going to choose to not lead you into any further thoughts regarding this passage. I think there's plenty here to spark great conversation. But I do hope that at the end, we can do the hard work and necessary work to confront maybe our own thinking, maybe even some of our own prejudices that we have had towards other people and groups, and find a way to truly embrace the fact that the gospel, Jesus, truly is for everyone. Because our very divided world, our divided nation, our divided community most needs a united church.